Welcome to our messy, beautiful lives. My name is Roxana, and here we expose and explore our traumas and because people need people to share stories and heal. I'll go first. Hi, I'm bipolar. Some of you might ask why I willingly decided to put on display all or some of my dirty laundry. Well, as you can see from the title of this episode, I'm not the prime example of mental stability or sane choices. However, as an artist, the happiest moment of my life was when someone, after watching my short film Slava, a moment please for self promotion, you can watch my short film Slava for free now on kinematograph.bg. The link is in the description box below. Thank you. So, as I was saying, the happiest moment of my life was when someone, after watching my short film, told me that they felt seen. My art resonated with someone. My story turned out to be partially theirs. That was magical. That was it. In this moment, I finally realized why I want to create art, why I want to share my stories. Unfortunately, telling stories through film is quite expensive. Of course, I do have a couple of screenplays in my drawer waiting for their moment to shine, and until then, why not share here? Maybe it will turn out that my traumas are partially yours and vice versa. My maybe will resonate with someone. Maybe someone will feel seen. Maybe I will finally feel seen. While growing up, I quickly learned that sharing my emotions doesn't change anything. And people, the outsiders, should not know the uglier, darker side of my being. There was a certain image to be upheld, what people expected me to be, what I expected myself to be, what I could have been. And anything else started to feel like a failure to me. Maybe it's because of my upbringing, maybe it's because I'm a Capricorn rising, but for a long time it was important for me. I needed to be perceived as a successful, having my together, and simply as a good human being. I believe many of us can resonate with this. And for sometimes it was quite easy for me to uphold this image. I graduated from high school with honors. I got accepted to the Sorbonne and did my BA and MA and graduated the university with honors. A bit of bragging, but doesn't hurt. And then everything went downhill. Let's say I got a ticket to a roller coaster and my 10 years long ride began. But during this time, I still was desperate to convince the outside world that I got everything under control. And the harder I tried, the harder it became for me to hide that I had no idea what I was doing and I had no idea what was happening to me. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but at least I have some idea what is happening to me. But I was fine. Everything was fine. That was my answer to every friend at any given moment whenever they would ask me how things are going. Because for them, I was this fiery, fun, bubbly, optimistic, spontaneous person. And if anything seemed a bit unstable, well, it's Roxana. She's a bit eccentric, she's a bit dramatic, she's a free spirit. God, I hated those words. I mean, sure, I functioned well in the chaos I created myself unwillingly, but I craved stability. And granted, I never wanted a corporate job. Not that there is anything wrong with having a corporate job, I just didn't want one. And I am quite creative, but that doesn't make me a free spirit. I need my freaking columns and I need structure. And I hate, hate, hate surprises. So whenever I heard this description of me, I wanted to yell. I wanted to yell, no, I'm not. Don't you see me? Don't you know me at all? But being perceived as a free spirit was better than being perceived as a loser because that is how I felt often. That somehow I'm constantly losing at this game of life. And I needed someone, something to prove to me that I'm a winner. If only I achieve this or that, then I'm going to start living. Then things are going to be normal again. So I moved a couple of times, changed countries, changed jobs, and every time the new choice was the one. The new person was the one. It was my personal fight against windmills. It had to be. One of these choices had to be the right one, the one that would lead me to stability. And I would passionately convince my family and friends and myself, mostly myself, that this time I truly found my purpose in life, that whatever was before doesn't matter. Now, this is the real me. And I would try to erase any memory of the previous version of Roxana. One day, I decided to dye my hair blonde. It was a process, took few attempts because my hair naturally is dark. But once I got the result I wanted, I liked it, and I decided that from now on I'm always gonna be blonde. There's nothing weird or unusual about that.
However, I also decided, for some reason, that people have to only perceive me as a natural blonde. It was so important to me. There was some meaning. It would change my life. So, for that to happen, I had to erase any trace of me as a brunette, and I deleted every single picture of me as a brunette from my computer, from my social media, and from my iCloud. Needless to say, I kind of regret it right now. And also, after 5 years of being blonde, I got bored and wanted a change and became a redhead. At least that time, I didn't go on a mission to erase every single picture of me as a blonde. So there was some progress. Or another time, I decided that I had to open an online shop for vintage clothes because I had this unique concept that would make me rich. I don't remember the concept, but I was certain that it was genius and that it would make me a billionaire. So instead of drafting a business plan, researching the market, or at least start building the website, I decided that the most important thing to do first is to buy the clothes I would sell. So I started spending my savings, buying clothes and stocking them at my place. I never opened the online shop and I ended up donating all the clothes. All these little anecdotes are just example of the moments in my life which till this day I'm like, why? Well, I know why, because I'm bipolar. But it's funny how I don't remember my thought process at these moments, but I clearly remember this feeling, the feeling of importance. I had to do it. So after 5, 6 years of this and depressions, which I would talk about in a bit, it got tiring. I was exhausted. However, I still refused to ask for help. But I knew that something was wrong and I desperately wanted to fix it, to fix my life, to stabilize my life. So I thought that if I got to know myself better, if I understood who am I without those jobs, those relationships, those goals, I would be able to stabilize myself and my life. So my initial solution how to do this was to analyze my life choices, to search in the archives of my memory all of the versions of Roxana that I so successfully previously deleted, and accept that their choices are my choices, which wasn't fun always because some of the choices were hurtful to other people emotionally, never physically, although I almost pushed my ex from the stairs, but I choose not to. But this is this is a story for another episode. As I was saying, I was able to do all of that at some point in my life. They were and are and will always be a part of me. And I was done erasing chapters of my life that weren't aesthetically pleasing. I was done upholding a certain image. There was no image, long gone. And something magical happened. For the first time in my life, I really believed, I felt it. I was enough. I was always enough. And it was a huge relief. It was freeing. And also, it's always helpful to better understand your patterns of behavior. But did it help stabilize me and my life? No, it didn't. Like I mentioned before, I was no stranger to depressive episodes. I got my first major depressive episode in 2014. Some of them lasted a couple of months, some of them lasted a couple of years. Some of them were really, really bad and scary. But in my head, there was always a context for them: a toxic relationship, a bad breakup, a family issue, a war. So I never sought help. I never spoke about them to anyone except to my mom and, well, my family. And I believe that once I stabilize my life, there will be no reason for them to come back. And I did. I did all of this self searching, accepting, recognizing my behavior patterns. And for almost 2 years, I was okay. I was happy. I wasn't depressed. There was no toxicity in my life. And it was good until it wasn't. Again. And this recurrent dance with the darkness each time was becoming more encompassing of my being. And each time I managed to get out of its embrace, there was fear that at one point this would be our last dance. I also lost loved ones to suicide, and I spent years researching this topic in an attempt to try to feel closer to them, as well as to better understand my own thoughts. So, all of that finally pushed me to ask for help. I was feeling how I was losing all control of my thoughts, my brain, my being, and there was no reason, absolutely no reason, which could explain what was happening to me. And I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder too. Now I'm so grateful for my psychiatrist and that I went to see him, but that wasn't exactly how I felt the day of my visit. I knew that there was something that wasn't working properly in my brain, obviously. So before the appointment, I did my own research, Google MD, and I reviewed and narrowed down few possible diagnoses. But bipolar disorder wasn't even on my radar. And how could it? I mean, yeah, I had depressive episodes, but no manic behavior, right? Okay, sure, some of my actions were a bit sporadic, some a bit chaotic, and maybe I had episodes of inexplainable irritability that could quickly escalate into rage. And maybe there were moments when I felt like I'm on the top of the world and my idea was just genius. And okay, sure, I can get unusual, obsessive, and have a tunnel vision, but that's just my personality, right? And frankly, it does help with turning into reality my creative projects. It was better than being depressed. I think the best way to explain what was going through my head that day after I got my diagnosis is to read you the entry from my journal. Today I had my appointment with a psychiatrist. I knew I had to. I knew something was wrong for a while. Something is wrong for the last 10 years and it feels tiring. It feels like the moment I have a little break, when I can exhale and just feel normal, those moments go by so fast and are so short. And even thinking how brief they are makes me cry. I just want a break. It feels like the last 10 years have been darkness with few years of hope and excitement, but almost no peace. Sometimes I envy people who can be just okay, without new projects, without plans of taking over the world, winning Oscars, imagining interviews in your head, without changing your dream, your path, your goal, every year, and every time is the one. This time I know what I'm doing and jumping headfirst, burning bridges behind me, moving countries, and then failing into darkness. I was so scared before my appointment. I thought I would be relieved or maybe surprised, or maybe surprised by the diagnosis, but nothing. I don't feel anything knowing that, but I'm scared. I'm scared that if I stabilize my moods, I won't be able to achieve my goals, that I won't have new creative ideas, new passionate projects, that I won't take risk and jump head first. Because all my past memories were when I was on the high. What if I'll become just normal? Will I be creative? Will I need the art? I don't want to lose it. What if I will never experience inspiration without the lows? What if I will never have the courage to turn the project into reality without the highs? It took me so long to not feel like an imposter when I say I'm an artist. What if I'm not an artist, but I'm just bipolar? I think we can say that made me have another existential crisis. I spent so much time before the diagnosis trying to understand and accept myself, analyzing my choices and actions without taking into account my bipolar disorder. And it felt like I was back to square one. Which choices were mine and which the bipolar disorder? Should I take into account my diagnosis, or that would be just making excuses for myself? Where was my character and where was the bipolar? Could I have chosen to act differently? And the short answer is, without knowing that I'm bipolar and without being medicated, no, I could not. It's an overwhelming journey, at least for me it was, and still is at moments. Apart from the existential crisis, I had to learn and still learning how to self regulate emotionally, to know my triggers and to be able to identify them easily. At the beginning, I naively thought that once I'll start the medication, I'll be normal. And I quickly learned that that's not how it works. Of course, with the right medication and the right dose, it's way, way, way better. But it doesn't mean that I can't get depressed or I can't get the bipolar rage. If I'm not careful and I ignore my triggers and don't take care of myself, I risk getting an episode. And I did, even when being medicated. Of course, they are less severe thanks to the meds. And because I know that I'm bipolar, I can manage them better. And also, I can up the dose. But it's always better to try as much as I can to do the damage control beforehand, to try to manage them as soon as I notice that I'm becoming symptomatic. If I know that I have to travel or that I'm having a stressful work period or something that messes up with my sleep, I'll talk to my psychiatrist and we'll make a plan together. I also found my personal coping mechanisms, tools that work for me and help me to deal with it and calm down. Those tools would be different for each and any bipolar person. Of course, there are some universal things like having good sleep patterns and having a routine, having a support system. In addition to that, my personal coping mechanisms, tools, columns, whatever you want to call them, are creating art, writing, that helps a lot, math, multiplication table. Whenever I feel that I'm starting to be agitated or a bit irritable with no reason, sad, I start to do the multiplication table randomly in my head. So, like, testing myself, 8 times 8, 64, etc. I would like to say meditation as well. I'm trying, I'm not yet there, uh, but hopefully one day meditation as well. I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning it was exhausting to always be vigilant and check with myself 24/7, or at least when I'm awake. I'm happy. Am I too happy? Am I the normal amount happy? But with time, it becomes a bit more natural, almost automatic. It's still trial and error, but it helps to know that I have my shrink and my meds. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that everything is peaches and roses, but you know what? Life is unfair. Some of us get a small bark, others a beautiful, luxurious ship to sail through this ocean of life. But you know what? Waters are unpredictable. And it doesn't matter the vessel, you can sink at any given moment. So we might as well try to find enjoyable things while we are sailing. This long metaphor was to say that life is worth it, regardless its objective unfairness. It's very much worth it. And if it feels in this moment as it is not, please, please, please speak out. Tell someone that you're in pain. Ask for help. Please give people a chance to try to help you and to try to show it that things can get better. Like they said, there is power in being alone, but there is destruction in isolation. So I hope we never stop sharing our stories. I hope we never stop listening to each other. And I cannot wait to hear yours. Love you. See you soon.